Hey everybody, welcome to another episode. Now, what we're doing tonight is we are spreading the love of lagers, okay? You might know them, you might not know them, but you can have yourself some darn good flavorful beers that are lagers. In fact, I just read an article in the 2015 January All About Beer, new look at lagers, brewers returning to the classics. And if you pay any attention to craft beer and brew pubs, you'll see that many breweries are making a Pilsner now. In fact, a Helles, which is what we're going to be talking about a lot tonight, there's several varieties, alcohol abuse, of Helleses now that you can get. So, Pilsners, Helleses, all these... I really can't take them anywhere.
This is not pro.
No, wow, amateur hour here. But anyway, we're going to go upstairs, pour out several other versions of Helles, and we're going to talk about lagers. Alright, so here we are. We have 5 Helles beers. We'll talk about the Helles style quickly, but we're also going to just kind of talk about some other lager styles that we like. And we're really talking about tonight lighter lagers, pale lagers. Of course, you have had a Bock, Doppelbock, Maibach, maybe beers like that with a little more meat on their bones. But these beers are lighter, they can be delicate, and that's one of the reasons that we like them. We were just talking off camera that we like making these. I've been making, I brewed for a couple of years, but then I started making a Helles, I made a Pilsner or a Helles in like 2004. In like my second or third year of brewing, as soon as I figured out that I had the temperatures in my basement. And I made an extract. I made a Helles from Beer Captured. I made a recipe in there, and it was great. I made it several years, and then when I started doing all grain, then I started doing all grain ones too. So anyway, we're gonna taste a couple of these. Let's start with the Surly. We got the Surly Hell. I think this, when I have it, I feel that's pretty, and actually it's nice to compare it to maybe the Hocker Shore. So the Hocker Shore is authentic German brewery. Surly, of course, is local to the Minneapolis area. So you got the Surly. I mean, if you've had any kind of Surly beers, you know they're known for some of their bigger, crazier beers. But that's it seems pretty straight up.
It's crushable, I think is the technical term for it.
There you go.
Very drinkable. Nice malt character.
What makes a good Helles?
I think you've got to have good malt and good fermentation. It's not a hoppy style, so it really rests its laurels on the malt quality and the clarity that the fermentation can bring to that malt quality.
I agree. BJCP says pleasantly grainy, sweet, clean pills, malt aroma dominates. Low background note of DMS from Pils malt. Appearance medium yellow to pale gold, clear with a creamy white head flavor. Slightly sweet, malty profile. Grain and Pils malt flavors dominate with low to medium hop bitterness, and that's what this is about. And so as beer lovers, we love big hoppy beers, we love dark, strong boozy beers, and these types of beers are a whole nother thing, but this is what people have been drinking for,
200 years.
This is, I was going to say,
200
a long time, but that's not true. We did have dark beers until, they got 1884 or
pale lager is a pretty relatively recent invention.
But it is the most popular general beer style of the world today. Mm-hmm. And so I would have poo-pooed a lot of these types of beers when I was getting into good beer, and maybe even when I was starting to brew, until I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try to make one of these. And all right, so those are 2 examples. Hocker Shore is a little bit.
I find it a little drier
than
the Surly, maybe a little bit lighter bodied. The Surly has a little bit higher malt sweetness for me.
The Surly was giving me a little more bitterness right there on that drink.
There's a little more hop flavor to it. we're also comparing a beer that was brewed here in town to something
Right.
that was shipped over from
And that's a good point.
Germany,
And that's
so-
why a lot of this type of stuff, I think, gets sometimes maybe not the credit that it deserves, because people always say when you're in these countries, these European countries drinking these beers, they pretty much will always taste a little bit different. This says 6/15, so I wonder if that's a Best Buy.
Yeah.
Or
it
if
would
that's the 15th of June, like, you know how they, anyway, I don't know. Who knows?
be reading date codes on camera
Yeah.
with Dono and Mike.
Cut it out. What about this homebrew? My big glass of homebrew.
The big pour.
Does it go with the general
It
vibe?
goes great with a basement floor, I'll tell you that.
We had a little alcohol abuse down there pouring these glasses, which you may have caught at the end of the intro.
I think it's right in the wheelhouse.
Is there a little DMS in there?
I get a bit. I get.
That's kind of the coating, the slickery coating, sweet kind of flavor.
It can be. It can also be kind of manifest as kind of. To me, it's almost like a corn. A stewed corn or
maybe.
a cooked corn aroma.
But I don't think it's ridiculous.
It's not to the point of a fault in this beer. There's just a little sulfury tinge, which I actually like a lot.
And these are, I mean, you're talking about one of the benchmarks, you know, Hawker Shore, so they're gonna know what they're doing, and so does the Surly. But like I was saying, I enjoyed my extract version of this, and my all grain is I always make, you know, with all the beers that I like to make, and I do like IPAs and of those sorts. But in the winter, I make lagers. And I always make a Helles pretty much every year. If you look at my brew log, and I pretty much make some type of Pilsner. We were talking about this. I like the Czech Pilsner. Has a couple other specialty grains, and then Zaz hops. The German Pilsners can be 100% Pils malt, and it also can just be any type of hop, really. Any kind of just neutral German bittering hop. You can get different yeasts, and you could argue about that, but you can also just use any kind of mainline good lager yeast and you know, make a nice beer. What was the other one we were talking about? Oh, Dortmunder. It's just another kind of pale lager.
It's kind of in between Pils and Helles. It's hoppier than Helles, but maltier than a Pils.
Okay. And of course, when you're making what I'll call a true lager, which is different from making the lager with the California common yeast, which is also an option, I suppose. That's a yeast that ferments like 55 to 60, 65, something like that. Whereas these ranges are usually like 45 to 55, 48 to 55. So pretty chilly. And in our basements in St. Paul, we can ferment them in the winter fairly easily. And if you live in Arizona and you don't have a temperature controlled situation, you're not going to be making this type of beer. So if you have the capability of making any of these styles we've been talking about, and you've never really thought about it too seriously, that's what I'm trying to do, is say, give it some thought and give it a try. Let's try, we have a smoked Helles, which is something that I also have made. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bringing that. So how do you get it, how do you make a smoked Helles? What's different?
This is kind of a specialty of Bamberg in Bavaria, where they try to sneak smoked malt into
Anything.
lager formulations.
Ice cream.
And so what I did for this was, it's pretty much 2-spec Helles, except it has 10% Wireman Beechwood smoked Rauch malt
10%.
in the grist. 10%
Okay.
Rauch malt, 85% Pils malt, 5% Carafoam.
The smoke character is perceptible but subtle. Definitely. It's not a full-on rock beer, but it is present. And tell the viewers, because I know how you got the idea to even attempt something like this.
So yeah, in Bamberg, the breweries there, that's kind of the holdout for smoked lagers in Europe is Bamberg, and one of the most famous breweries there, Heller Trum, the Schlinkerla brand, they make a Helles, and Schlinkerla Helles is
Very good.
Very good. It's kind of about this level of smokiness. It's perceptible, but it's not overpowering like it is in some of their dark lagers, which use 50% on up Rauch malt for the grist. But their Helles doesn't use any smoked malt. And so whether it's picked up from the yeast or from the lines or just from the atmosphere, it acquires the smoke through infusion.
Now, did you come up with this idea on your own to sort of make a version of the smoked Helles?
I think so.
You drank their beer and you're like, oh, that is an interesting
yeah, and
flavor.
I really liked it, and so I wanted to figure out how to approximate it. And so after tinkering, what I liked was 10% Rauch malt in the grist of a Helles.
Because I did the exact same thing. All for smoke.
Oh, smoke for all.
I drank the Schlenkerla Urbach and the Marzen,
yeah.
and got the Helles Lager beer. I was like, oh wow, how interesting, a smoky Helles. And I did the same exact thing, and I think I used 20%. And in my notes I said, and I did a side-by-side tasting. This is going off track here, but I said I could even have bumped it up to more, and I've made it a couple more times since, and I think I maybe bumped it up a little bit more. But yeah, that's good. So another one we have is yes, the Surly, I guess, is an American Helles, mine, Michael's. We have a Liney's. I got this discounted. It's called Helles, yeah, American Helles. Which really, if you don't say Helles, yeah, or what the Helles or something, you're not. You gotta just walk through that door. That door is open. I mean, that's. So what do we think?
The joke's not gonna tell itself, though. No?
Almost does. But what do you think of this one?
So they build this as an American Helles.
It's gotta have more bitterness, like I.
And it's we looked this up, so we know we cannot pretend for the camera. We looked it up.
Does Surly put it on their can or not?
I don't know, but Liney's has 27 IBUs, which is that's not a lot in craft beer absolute
the
terms.
IBU range technically is 16 to 22 according to this, so
it's above style.
Yeah. It's more than,
Helles.
it's got to be more than the Hawker Shore.
And I think it has kind of a citronella.
It does have more of a hop
pungence. Yeah.
flavor, like almost like a lemoniness or something.
Yeah.
You were commenting earlier that the mouth feel or the malt character makeup is not as maybe significant or not as similar as some of the other ones.
It's quite a bit slighter in terms of malt flavor than the others, I think.
But I think what's interesting is I don't know how many years you would go back and you would not see Liney's making a commercial version of a Helles and marketing it that way and having it out there, whereas now you do. And I know that there are several. I mean, I can't list them off, but they were talking about it in that article in the All About Beer that I showed. I mean, all kinds of examples of Helles and, of course, Pilsners. They were speculating in addition to every brewery having an IPA on tap, every brewery will probably have like a Pilsner or some version of a pale lager. So we like them. You may like them. You might already like them. If you try them, you might just like them. So give it a try. All for smoke. Smoke for all.
All.
Keep drinking. See you next time.
Thanks, Don.